Hello, hi, and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Sarah, and this is Wicked Reading. If you're not new here, thank you so much for joining me again. I truly appreciate it. So today we are going to talk statistics. We're going to get nerdy. I really wanted to do a 2023 statistics and 2024 goals video. I was debating for a little bit because I don't have the most descriptive or in-depth statistics ever, but I still wanted to go through them because I love seeing everybody else's. I think it's so interesting and so insightful to see everybody's statistics. But I also really wanted to verbalize my goals for 2024 because if I don't verbalize my goals, I will honestly forget about them and not accomplish them. So this is also partly to hold myself accountable, and then also so I can see how much my reading changes come 2024 statistics. So I'm really excited to be able to look back on this video and compare the two. So my stats will be very basic, and I only have stats through StoryGraph, but come 2024, I'm going to keep additional statistics on top of my StoryGraph ones. So my 2024 statistics will have a few different breakdowns, a few more details, and I actually just found out that on StoryGraph, I was never picking the correct format of the book that I was reading. I kind of would just search in the bar the book I was reading and immediately just pick the one that came up. And I've since now learned that I can go through the editions to pick the true format of which I am consuming that book by, meaning if I read it physically, digitally, or through audiobook. So unfortunately, I don't have my statistic on my formatting, which is one I definitely will have for 2024, and one I'm very curious about. I know for a fact that my audio listening has gone up quite a bit, so it kind of sucks that I won't have anything to compare it to, but I'm very interested to see what my formatting stat will be in 2024. But anyways, all that is to say that all of these statistics that I have today are through StoryGraph, and I'm only sharing the ones that were probably the most accurate. Some of these are going to be off a little bit for sure. I know specifically my star rating. Some of them I definitely probably changed my mind on and did not reflect my change in my mind of the star rating, but these are as accurate as I could have kept them for 2023. So we'll go over the stats, and then at the end I will have my 2024 goals to talk to you guys about. So let's just go ahead and start looking at the stats. So I will be looking down because I have my laptop in front of me so I can read off my statistics to you guys. So in 2023 I ended up reading 103 books. This is probably mostly accurate. There may have been a few manga volumes that I forgot to include. I know on my Goodreads, I think that one had 101. So I think my StoryGraph is more accurate, but it might be a difference of like one or two additional books. But anyways, so the 103 books read totaled 35,537 pages, which sounds like a lot. I don't have anything to compare it to, but there's that. And then my moods, which is something that I love that StoryGraph tracks. My moods were mostly dark, followed by tense, mysterious, adventurous, a little bit emotional, and then we have a few very tiny slivers of funny, reflective, lighthearted, sad, hopeful, and challenging. So in 2023, especially towards the end, I focused a lot more on horror. That was just the genre that was speaking to me the most. So that's probably why there's a lot more dark in there, but I do tend to gravitate towards more dark types of books to begin with anyways, so that makes total sense, and I would not be surprised if that's my top mood in 2024 as well. Of the 103 books I read, 41 books were part of series, which is actually so much higher than I thought it would be, but it makes sense because I did end up reading a lot of the Throne of Glass series. I read some of the Witcher series that was rollover from 2022 when I started it. I read like Fourth Wing. A lot of those are fantasy driven series. The only one I can think of that was not fantasy driven series was My Heart is a Chainsaw. That is part of the, I believe it's called the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. That is a horror. So most of these series were definitely embedded in my fantasy. Then for fiction versus nonfiction, I only read 3 nonfiction books, making up 3% of my reads. That is low. I know in 2022, I think I read like 10. I just know that I read way more nonfiction in 2022. So seeing only 3 for me from 2023 is a little disappointing, not gonna lie. So 2024, we're gonna try to change that. But the 3 nonfiction books I read was Yes Please by Amy Poehler, Mean Baby by Selma Blair, and The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. So they were all very memoir based. I definitely want to read some more nonfiction, more informative style books come this year as well. So definitely gonna work on reading more nonfiction. So for page number, the majority of books that I read were kind of medium length, between 300 and 499 pages. That made up 53% of the books that I read, while a very small amount, 11%, were very large books, and about a third at 36% were less than 300 pages. I do hope to have that sliver of high page count books be a little bit bigger. I do want to take on more bigger books, so I also won't be surprised if my book count goes down for 2024, but we shall see. And the average length of book that I read was actually 341 pages, and on average it took me around 5 days to finish each book. Despite on average it taking me only 5 days to finish a book, the book that took the longest time for me to finish was Blood Mercy by Bella Roth. That ended up taking me 16 days, probably give or take a couple of days, because I'm not always super accurate with updating that. But that makes sense because I was actually reading that while I was on vacation. So that spanned over my entire vacation. So, and that's a long book. So it made sense that it took that long to read it. A little bit more fun info for the page count. The longest book that I read in 2023 was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. Now I am already going to beat that because the book I'm currently reading is over 700 pages. It's not many more pages, but I am beating that. So that's pretty exciting. The shortest book that I read in 2023 was The Visitor by Sergio Gomez at 72 pages. They did have a little pie graph for the pace of the book. Now this is a little bit subjective because this is obviously information input by readers, which is just subjective because some books are going to feel slower to some readers and a different reader can have a totally different experience. So while I do find this little bit of information interesting, I don't hold much to it. So majority of the books that I read were medium paced at 61%, which kind of just makes sense because that's just where most people I feel like would fall, because unless it's a novella that it's like for sure fast paced or something that's super action packed, I feel like most books feel a little bit in the middle, you know? Anyways, so 29% of the books I read were considered fast-paced and 10% were considered slow. Personally, for me, what I would say was probably the slowest book was Blood Mercy by Bella Roth, and not because it took me so long to read, which kind of like, I guess, goes into that, but it was just a very, 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 very slow burn type of fantasy. So out of curiosity, I'm going to see which books exactly they considered to be like fast and slow and all of that. So let's see, the slow paced book makes up 10 books of what I read. Blood Mercy is in there, so that makes sense. And it looks like a lot of the other books are very character driven types of stories. There is one book on here, Little Eve by Catriona Ward, that I would not consider slow paced. It was only 288 pages. I guess I can see how somebody might think it was slow-paced, but I would not have categorized that as slow-paced, but okay. And then interestingly, they have The Ritual by Adam Neville listed as fast-paced, and for me, that book felt so slow-paced. Like, it started off kind of fast, like stuff happened really early on, but then it like really dragged in the middle. So again, that kind of information is quite a bit more subjective, but I just thought it was interesting to look at that information anyways. So my full genre list is a bit long. So we have horror, fantasy, thriller, romance, LGBTQIA. Those are my top 5. And then we have young adult, science fiction, manga, mystery, literary, contemporary, historical, memoir, crime, short stories, erotica, magical realism, music, and essays. The book listed under erotica is the Mind F series, which I would have thought that they listed Ice Planet Barbarians under that. but they didn't, which I would consider that a little bit more erotica versus the Mind F series. So that's interesting too. But with my top 5 specifically, 57 books of the 103 that I read were listed under horror, while 41 books were listed under fantasy, 27 were thriller, 27 were romance, and 14 were listed with LGBTQIA+. So for my most read authors, my number 1 was Mizuo Kusanagi, which makes sense because they are the author / illustrator of Yona of the Dawn, so it's a manga series. I have read 11 of the volumes, 9 of which I read specifically in 2023, so I definitely need to get back to that. Followed by Sarah J. Maas, again makes sense because my fantasy series in Throne of Glass. Followed by Andrzej Sapkowski, again part of the Witcher series. Followed by Zoya Stage, which I did read 3 of her standalone novels. St. Abbey, which it's counting as 3 because technically like the big book is a bind up of 5 different ones, and I don't even know what happened to the other 2, but anyways, they counted the Mind F series in multiple fragments instead of just one bound up book. And then I did end up reading 2 books each from Karina Halley, Mona Awad, Catriona Ward, Mira Grant, and Jessa Hastings. In addition to that, I apparently explored the works of 55 new authors, including Monica Ojeda, Christopher Robertson, and Nick Cutter. So to break down the number of books and pages, I have this little graph, which is really fun. So it looks like my lowest reading month was July, which makes sense because that's when I was on vacation. My second lowest reading month was April with only 5 books. I don't know what happened there. I don't really remember, so there's that. And then my highest reading months were May and June, which were both surrounding a readathon, so that makes sense. And then December was pretty high too, which was a little bit of a surprise because I definitely did not expect to read as much as I did in December. But for the page breakdown, I read the most amount of pages in June at 4,130 pages. So out of the 103 books that I read, I rated 96 of them. I did not rate all of the memoirs. I will only rate a memoir if I'm giving it 5 stars. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. So I only rated the memoirs that I gave 5 stars to. I don't think that I rated all the manga. And then I know I did not rate Baby Teeth by Zoya Stage because I didn't know what to rate it. I couldn't decide. So I did rate most of them, but my average rating ended up being 3.75, which again might be a little bit incorrect because I know I have had a change of heart for a few of those ratings since, but we're gonna go off of that for now. My highest rating month was January with an average rating of 4 stars, and April was my lowest average rating at 3.38, which is very low. I kind of want to look back and see what I did read in April because 1, that was a very low book count month, and 2, very low rated month. So, interesting. So popularity contest time. So the book that I read that had the most shelves was Throne of Glass, shelved by 258,330 users. And then the least popular shelved book that I read was The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim with only 229 users shelving it, which makes sense because this book isn't even out yet. I read an arc, so yeah. The highest rated book I had on my whole list was also The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim with an average of 4.45, which again makes sense because it is in the very early days and it hasn't really been seen or read by most of mainstream readers. I feel like books have a very, very high rating when they are initially published because previously a lot of either really big fans or really big supporters read the book, so it might potentially have some bias in it in the beginning, and as the book is older and older and there's more and more readers, the rating does tend to go down. This was a book I really enjoyed. I gave it a 4.5, so I kind of agree with what the current rating is. And then my first book that I read in 2023 was Little Eve by Catriona Ward. The very last book that I read in 2023 was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, and very interestingly, I gave both of those 4 stars. So We started the year in a 4-star and we ended the year in a 4-star. So that's all the statistics / fun little tidbit information that I have from Storygraph. So moving into my goals, my 2024 goals, I have them broken down here between my reading goals and kind of like my channel / content goals. So to start with my reading goals, which you may have heard some of these during my bullet journal video, but I do have a few more on this list that I didn't actually put in my reading journal / bullet journal. So the first one is read 100 books. This is one that I don't really care if I hit or not. I just wanted to have one, and 100 is just like a nice solid number. Obviously, I only read 103 in 2023, and in 2024, I do want to read some bigger books. So we'll see how that works out. If I hit it, awesome. If I don't, I'm really not going to be that upset about it. So I'm not super hung up on this number, but it does exist. I did want to make a number goal just because it's the type of person I am. One goal that I'm taking very seriously is I want to read at least one KU book per month, meaning one Kindle Unlimited book per month. I pay for the subscription. I don't always utilize it, so I definitely want to read at least one a month. I believe the membership is anywhere from $10 to $12. In my head, that equates to at least one book. That one I'm taking very seriously, and if I do not follow this one, I will strongly consider canceling my KU membership. I at least want to maybe read the books that I have on there now and get through those, and then maybe just get rid of it and sign back up whenever there happens to be a book I want to read on there. But anyways, one KU book per month. I want to utilize my library more and buy less. So that's it. It speaks for itself. I want to use my library more, and I want to buy less, not only because I don't want to feed so much into consumerism anymore, but I do want to lower my physical TBR. But that being said, I will never be somebody who has no physical TBR. I like having a pile of books that I haven't read. I like having options when I'm ready to read a new book. So I will never not have a physical TBR, but I do want to lower my physical TBR at least a little bit. I'm not putting like a specific percentage on it. I don't even know how many books I have on my physical TBR, but I want to buy at least lower, because what happens with me is I buy books and I get really excited for them, but I never have enough time to read all of the books I just bought in a timely manner before I end up buying more books, and then those books get pushed to the side, and then eventually I'm not even in the mood for that type of book anymore. Maybe my reading style has already changed or already shifted. So the older the book is, the less likely I am to read it, at least in my physical TBR. I don't know what it is, but if a book's been sitting on my shelf for a year, the chances just get so low of me getting to it. So I do want to at least have a more manageable and more realistic physical TBR. Another goal is to read ARCs, which I've already started to accomplish. I finally signed up for NetGalley, and I've been reading some ARCs, and it's really fun and exciting. And yeah, so that's it. That's the goal. Read some ARCs. Next is read books from book subscription boxes. I have so many books from my Fairy Loot subscription, and I have read so few of them. So I definitely want to read a lot more from my Fairy Loot specifically, but also from my other subscription, Nightworms. But I feel like I do a good job at reading the books that I get from Nightworms. I do need more of a push for the Fairy Loot ones. But again, I'm doing pretty good because I think I've already read one or two. I think that I will make it where I need to read at least one per month, which I think is very generous and very doable, because I do receive at least 4 books a month from subscription boxes. So that's only reading 25% of the books that I get each month. So I should definitely be able to do that. Another goal is I just want to participate in more readathons and book clubs. I just want to connect more with the rest of the community, and I think those are a really great way to do that. This does become tricky for me because I'm just like such a mood reader. It's like not even funny. I don't like to be told what to read if I'm not picking up a book because I'm just drawn to wanting to read it. It feels more and more like a chore for me. But I'm just gonna have to try to get over that a little bit and just participate more, especially readathons where it does cater towards being able to kind of read what you want and make it fit certain prompts. I just have to do a better job too of knowing about readathons before they come up and before I start planning all these other videos, because if I plan a certain video like a themed vlog, I'm so dead set on doing that. I think even the readathons that I did partake in last year, I knew about them like the day or a couple days before they started. So I need to seek them out more. And also with book clubs, there's a few booktubers on here that I do try to participate in their book clubs as much as I can. And I also joined one on a Discord for specifically weird women literature. So I'm super excited because I'm hoping to find a lot of new books through that would not have been on my radar previously, because I love weird women books, but if they're not somewhat linked to horror, I tend to not know that they exist, because lit fic for me is just such a huge genre, and I just don't really necessarily love browsing through those shelves like at a bookstore or in the library, because there's just so much. I like when genres are broken down even more. And for like those unhinged women books that are categorized in literary fiction, it's just harder for me to find them because I'm just not, it's too much. I get overwhelmed by all the other books. Additionally, one of my goals is to keep better stats, which I've already talked about. So I'll do this through both Storygraph and also now my reading journal. I'm going to keep a lot of stats in there as well. So I have 2 resources that I'm using to keep better stats with. Of course, I had to also just put on this list my 24 books that I want to read in 2024. I have a whole video on that. I will link it down below. You could go watch that. So I do want to read those books. I'm doing pretty good. I've already actually read 5 of them. And then my last reading specific goal is I do want to reread books. I am not a huge rereader. I love the idea of it, and I love books that feel like they have a lot of rereadability to them. I just never really end up rereading because there's just so many other books that I do want to read and so many other new possibilities, but I want to actually reread some books this year. My hard goal for this is just 1, which is not much at all, but it's more books than I've reread in the last like 5 years. So if I just read 1, I will count this goal as accomplished. My soft goal is to reread 3 books. So we'll see. So moving into my channel/content goals, I am not going to create a number goal for like YouTube subscribers or Instagram followers. To me, I just like, I'm not going to do that because I have not that much control over what that number ends up being. My goal, though, is to have more subscribers/Instagram followers than I start the year with. If I have 1 more, awesome. If I have 300 more, amazing. If I have more than that, like, holy crap, that's fantastic. So I'm not putting a numerical goal on followers, but I would like to have it be positive at the end. That being said, if I do hit 4,000 YouTube subscribers, I do really want to do like a Q&A video or something that's much more interactive and much more about me and like my channel, not necessarily just books. If you guys were interested in that, that's something I would really love to do, just to have you guys get to know me better, and hopefully I can get to know you guys better through that as well. So there's like some light goals throughout that, but again, I just want it to be positive growth at the end. Speaking of Instagram, I want to use Instagram more. I did finally open a Bookstagram account last year, and I really like it because I feel like I can connect with people so instantaneously. So I really want to focus on posting a lot more on that. I'm just like not somebody who's very good at taking photos. I'm not photogenic, but I'm gonna like worry less about how, you know, professional my photos look and just kind of posting what I want to post and engaging in some way. I think that a good goal to at least keep myself on track is to have at least 2 posts a month, which I know is like not a lot, but I don't know, for some reason, Bookstagram can be a lot more work for me. I'm just like not a big typer and like picture taker. It's just like not really my thing. That's why even on my Goodreads, my reviews are like, most of my books do not have like typed out reviews. I'm just like not somebody who can communicate as well and just like typed words. But all that to say is I want to use my Bookstagram more. For 2024 on my YouTube, I want to create more creative and like unique videos, not like super unique, like groundbreaking, nobody's ever done it type of videos, but unique for me. I want to experiment more with themed vlogs, with doing some more kind of creative outlet stuff, like doing more stuff with my book journal, or I do make bookmarks, doing some more like bookish crafting type of stuff. I think I might try a new approach to monthly wrap-ups, because sitting down and doing monthly wrap-ups, one, can take so much time, and two, can get a little bit redundant and a little bit monotonous in a way. So I have seen a lot of people recently doing like monthly wrap-ups, but it's a vlog style. So throughout the whole month, they take the clips of them talking about the books as they finish them. So then at the end, it's just a culmination and kind of collage montage of all of their thoughts throughout the whole month of each book. It also just helps to keep the book information fresh and like my thoughts fresh. So I might do that. We'll see. I do want to participate in reading sprints more. I don't want to like say this out loud because if I don't do it, I don't do it, but I kind of do want to host reading sprints. I just find them to be so fun and helps me focus. So let me know if you guys are interested in reading sprints. I would love to host them if people wanted to do that. I don't know how, to be honest, but I would definitely figure it out and learn how to do it if people were interested in it. It is something that I do kind of want to do, especially leaning into like Sunday reading sprints or weekend reading sprints. I would not do reading sprints throughout the week, I'll tell y'all right now, because my schedule is just super tight throughout the week and I have very limited time to do anything in my free time during the week. I only have like 3 hours of free time each weekday, so it would be like weekend reading sprints. So let me know what you think about that. So yeah, that's like my channel / content goals, but I do really want to hear from you guys. I want to have like an open discussion about Booktube in general. I want to hear from you. What types of videos do you like seeing the most from Booktube? What types of videos do you find yourself engaging in with the most? What type of Booktube content are you sick of seeing, or you just have absolutely no interest in? I would love to know. If you have any content suggestions, please let me know. I really want to bring some fresh stuff to 2024, and I really want to know what you guys want to see as well. I really want 2024 to be as much about stuff that I enjoy doing and getting more creative with my content, as much as providing you guys entertainment and videos you want to see and want to engage with. So yeah, open discussion. Let me know any feedback, all of the good stuff. I want to know. So that is going to be everything for today's video. If you made it to the end, leave me a pencil emoji down below so that I know. As always, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me while I sit down and talk about book stats and 2024 goals. If you haven't yet, please give the video a like, subscribe for future content, turn on the bell notification, all the fun YouTube things that help your girl out, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!